How do you charge an air conditioner? Why is my air conditioner not keeping up? Today, it's low on refrigerant, and I'm going to explain to you why it's low on refrigerant and help you understand how we can find a leak if we have a leak and we're low on charge. So today's video is all about HVAC training. Those technicians out there, those students that want to learn more about charging air conditioners or anything HVAC, this is the video for you. You're watching HVAC Tips for Technicians. I'm Tad, let's get started. Customer says the air conditioner is not keeping up, said they set the thermostat for 70 degrees cooling and it's not reaching temperature. It's staying 75 degrees. When the sun sets, then the air conditioner finally catches up. I asked him a couple questions. When's the last time he cleaned it? It's been several years, so it could be dirty. I asked them, is it blowing out cold air out of the vents inside the house? Yeah, it's blowing out cold air. What about outside? The fan on top, is it blowing out warm air? Because that should happen in the cooling mode. This outdoor condenser fan motor. It's pulling that air through the coil, and usually the exhaust air is warm. They didn't check that, that's okay. So what are we gonna do first? We got our gauges connected, and we've got our temperature clamps. We're gonna go ahead and take our alligator clips, and we're gonna jump out the cooling operation. We wanna make sure that the indoor fan runs when we do this. So we're gonna put one of these alligator clips on the yellow wire, which should be going to the Y terminal of the thermostat. And then the other one's gonna go on the red terminal. And this should be going to the R on the thermostat. All right, so now we wanna make sure our indoor fan is running. Oh, make sure you got a good connection. That terminal's really rusted. Depending on the type of brand of equipment, depends on if they energize the reversing valve in heating or cooling. For this brand, I need to energize the O terminal as well as the Y because we are energizing the reversing valve in the cooling mode. Different equipment, like maybe Rheem and Rudd, you have a B terminal, you're energizing the reversing valve in the heat operation, and then Trane, American Standard Carrier, you're energizing in the cooling operation. Make sure you know that. I couldn't go inside and actually turn the thermostat to the cooling mode. Customer's not here. And so since I can't do that, I'm just making sure that I'm energizing the reversing valve in cooling mode. So for me, I just need to connect R, Y, and O. All right? Hope that makes sense. Also, I asked the customer, is the filter clean? Because we can't get inside. They explained they just changed it, so that's good because that would affect our pressures. One more thing, before you charge equipment, you may want to clean the coils. If the coils are dirty, that's going to affect your charge as well. Indoor fan is running. All right, if the indoor fan's not pulling air across the coil, that indoor coil, then that's going to affect the suction pressure. We got to make sure it's running so that we charge the unit correctly. I got a feeling that it's low on charge. So that's why this video is about charging. Now, there's something that you want to do is you want to measure the return air and the supply air temperature. So we're going to see what the temperature is before we charge it and then after we charge it. So what I did was I got my unibit and I drilled a hole in the supply. And then I came over here and drilled a hole in the return. So we're going to turn on our dual induct psychrometer. Put that inside our return duct, and then we can measure the temperature of our house, basically. So what do we got? 70, looks like 71. Yeah. All right. So 71 degrees inside the house. Hopefully our duct's not leaking and pulling some air from in the crawl space. Now, ideally, we want a 20-degree split or around that. And if we don't have a 20-degree split, we know for sure that something's wrong. 71 and 66. Ooh. 5-degree split, no bueno, no bueno. Let's check out the pressures. Turn our gauges on. Oh no, R22, this is my favorite. R22, 12 PSI on the low side, 112 PSI on the high side. Now typically, when it's 95 degrees outside, that suction pressure is gonna be at least 65, 70. It really depends on the indoor dry bulb temperature as well, because the higher the dry bulb temperature, that can affect that suction pressure. The higher the dry bulb temperature, the higher that suction pressure. Lower the dry bulb, lower that suction pressure. So now, we know for sure it's got to be low, but you wanna check your airflow, make sure you got good airflow. I'm gonna turn on these meters, these temperature clamps. All right, now, remove the panel so you can access the condenser section. Be careful, you may want to do this while the power is off. I don't want you to get hurt and get your hand chopped off. Now we're going to put our clamps on the correct pipes. One is for the suction pipe and one is for the liquid pipe. So we got the panel off here to access the condensing section, and we're going to put one on the suction line. You can't really see it, but that's the inlet pipe for the compressor, and then one right here on our liquid pipe. That's where our filter dryer is usually located. Put it right here. Now we want to put this panel back on so that we're not sucking air around the coil. We got to suck air through the coil. This will affect the pressures if we leave it off. So now let's check out our pressures. Suction line temperature is 67, way too high, and our superheat's 82, that's too high. We need that number to be around 15. And if you have a high number, the higher the number, the less liquid you have inside of your evaporator, the less refrigerant. So higher the number means emptier. That coil is empty if it's really high. If it's low, like around 15, 10, that means the evaporator coil, which is right here underneath this top, that means that it is full. All right, lower the number full, higher the number empty. All right, subcooling, -4. Liquid line temperature is 70. Liquid line temperature needs to be a little higher. Subcooling, that definitely needs to be higher. It's negative. That needs to be at least 5, and I would like to see around 8 or 10. Really depends on your conditions though, outside, inside. So make sure you measure all your temperatures. Now, one more thing I want to do before we move forward is measure the air temperature right here. This should be warm air. Look at that. 64 degrees. Come on. And then our outside temperature. It's kind of cool out here today. But look, 60, 62, 64. A 2-degree difference. No. Come on. That's ridiculous. All right. So, we got a 5-degree temperature split between our return and supply air temperature. We've got a 2-degree split between our air outside and the air we're pulling out of our condenser. Just crazy. So yeah, we're definitely low on refrigerant. Our superheat's super high, our subcooling's super low. That's definitely an indication it's low. So what we're gonna do is get some refrigerant. We're gonna go ahead and charge it correctly, and then we're gonna try to find that leak. We're gonna charge the system up. We got a couple choices for refrigerant. I'm not gonna use R22. I'm dealing with the single mother here, only one income. I wanna save her as much money as possible. So I'm gonna be using a replacement 422B. You need to check out the service facts for the equipment you're working on. Check this out, and it says 104 ounces. Divide that by 16, we get 6.5 pounds. So that's total factory charge. Now, let's go ahead and open our tank. Let's flip the tank over on the scales, and then we're gonna clear out our scales and then bleed the air out. Clear out one more time, and then we're gonna begin to see all of this change. All right, you ready? Here we go. I'm gonna start by putting in probably about a pound. It's going up, 12, 13, and we're at a pound. Look at that, 1 pound. Beautiful. All right, now I'm gonna let it set, and I may add a little bit more. Then we're gonna redo all the checks. We've added 2.5 pounds. So you can see the scales, 2.5 pounds, and then you can see the pressures. Suction pressure is almost 50 now. The high side is 150, and the liquid line temperature has gone up. Superheat value has gone down. It's closer to what we want. Subcooling is out of the negatives, and that's great, but we still lack a little bit of refrigerant. So I'm gonna go ahead and get another tank because this one was pretty much empty, and then we're gonna finish the charge. Now we've added 2 more pounds. So we had 2.5 pounds from the other jug, 2 pounds from this jug, equaling 4.5 pounds. So that means this system only had 2 pounds in it. We've definitely got to find the leak. But check out these pressures, check out these temperatures. Look at this. Suction pressure is almost 60, superheat 17. We don't really care about the subcooling because we're not using a TXV. We're using a fixed orifice. I'm sure that's what this has. This unit's 2005, so it's 20 years old. We've got a pressure of 184 on our high side with a liquid line temperature of 72. So that's went up. Our suction line temperature is now 48. Look at that, 48 degree vapor going into our suction line, our inlet side of our compressor. That's more like it. That means we should see that type of temperature on our supply air. So 58, 185, that's pretty good with 15 degrees of superheat. That's fantastic. That means we have a good amount of refrigerant inside of our evaporator. Now, I think it was what, 70 degrees in the house? And we only had, I think, 66 degrees supply air temperature. Now, it hasn't been charged very long. Probably need to wait another 5 minutes before I check this, but I guarantee it's lower. Oh my, look at that, 47 degrees. So that means we have over a 20 degree split right now, right? 70, 46, that's like 24 degrees, that's fantastic. Now, this customer is gonna be happy because their unit's gonna run for 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at the most, and then it's gonna reach temperature, satisfy, and shut off. Therefore, her electric bill is going to go down because it's not running all day long. But it's gonna get low again. The refrigerant's gonna leak out. And if you're a service tech out in the field and you charge equipment and you add that much refrigerant and you don't search for a leak, I mean, you may not find it, right? You may not always find the leak, but at least you can say, I did a leak, search, and I didn't find it. I need to check back up in 3 months or 6 months. That way the customer doesn't have to continue to pay you, what is this gonna cost? $300, $400 maybe? They don't have to be charged this every 6 months or every year. Now, if I had a pound, it may last 2 years, right? If it's a slow leak. But for this, it's 2005, it's 20 years old, we gotta find the leak. So what do we do next? We remove the alligator clip, we take the disconnect, open it up. There's a wasp nest. I'm glad there's no wasp. Oh, that's a big wasp nest. Disconnect the power. Let's go ahead and take the screws that hold the top panel on, flip it back, and let's look for some visual signs of leaks. I was disconnecting my gauges and I found a valve core leaking, or a valve stem. So I've got a valve core removal tool. I'm gonna use this. You can use a thermostat screwdriver to tighten it up. Sometimes it's just loose, or you have to replace it. I've actually got a new one because I thought that's what I'd be doing. But looks like today it's easy. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this other hose from the low side port. And that one's not leaking, so that's good. I got some soap bubbles. Definitely wanna spray it in there to see. I don't think that was where our main leak was, but it could be. I'm still gonna pull the top. When you perform maintenance, when you do a service and clean, do you charge first or clean first? I like to clean first. Why? Because coils like this that are severely dirty will affect the pressures. And what you can end up doing is overcharging, not getting the correct charge. This coil being dirty restricts the air. What happens when you restrict the air? Lower the airflow, lower the suction pressure. So even though we're putting refrigerant in it, the pressure's not going up. Why? Because our coil's dirty. I want you to know that in today's video so that you don't do what I did in this video, which is charge the equipment first. You need to clean the equipment first. But this equipment is old. It needs to be replaced. I knew it was going to be low, but still, no excuses, right? So I got a water hose. I got the coil gun, some coil cleaner. We're going to clean the wheel because it's super dirty. We're going to clean the evaporator coil. We're going to clean the condenser coil. First, we're going to use our leak detector. So I've got a Field Piece IR refrigerant leak detector. Let me know what choice. This thing's going off already. Probably because of the wind though. I did find one spot right here on the discharge line. I'm gonna check that first. Beep, beep. Let's see. We'll go from the top and then I'll go from the bottom. Anything that has or looks like it has some oil residue, check that first. Then, if the equipment's flat, we know it's a high pressure leak. In the cooling mode, this is a heat pump, so in the cooling mode, this right here would be our high pressure section. And this is our low pressure section. During the heating mode, this is our high pressure section, right? Going over the evaporator. Evaporators over 15 years old tend to leak. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, let's put our finger inside the pan and see if there's any oil. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, and it's going off. It's going off. So we likely have a leaking evaporator coil. Let me show you the metering device. This is the indoor section. This is our indoor metering device, our fixed orifice. And then there's another metering device in our outdoor section, and that is a fixed orifice as well. This is an older model unit, so we don't have TXVs, we have those fixed orifices. Since we know our evaporator coil is leaking, and this is 20 years old, take a look. See, it's a PHK 036, so 3 ton, over here 05. I'm pretty sure 02. So I think it's a 2005. So it's 20 years old. I'm going to admonish the customer to go ahead and start saving and replace the equipment. We are going to go ahead and clean it. That way, at least while it's here and it's serving the heating and cooling needs for the home, that it is up to, you know, the best standard that it can be, you know, that it actually heats and cools and it's clean. I'm going to go ahead and clean this air conditioning system up. If you want to learn how to clean an air conditioner, click the link to this video, go down in the description. There's a few videos down there, one on how to clean an air conditioner, and then another on how to learn more about superheat and subcooling. If you enjoyed today's video, I hope you learned something. If you did, let me know what you learned down in the comments. Remember, questions can lead to new content, so put your questions down below. But if you don't have a question, that's okay. Let me know who you are and let me know where you're from. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, and smash that bell. Ding, so you know what I'm doing. You want more videos like this? Go check out my playlist, HVAC Tips for Technicians. I've got hundreds of videos of live experience in the field as a technician to help you be a better technician. You've been watching HVAC Tips for Technicians. This is Taddy Digest. I'm Tad, and I'll keep you cool if you let me.